makes sense.
Okay, perfect.
Transcript later. Great. Yeah. So I mean,
where are you, Yasmine?
I'm in the Caribbean.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I'm usually based in Brazil. I work on a shiitake farm in Minas Gerais in the mountains.
Wow. Yeah.
But Brazil was, very complicated with COVID at the moment.
Yeah.
And my visa was expiring because visa services were down. And my sister lives here and she just had a baby.
Wonderful.
So I'm just like combining some babysitting.
So good.
With being here. Yeah, we just had like a big tropical storm here the other day, so we've been without electricity and water. But now, like, it just came back this morning. So I was like, oh my god, I have to. It needs to be back in time.
Is the baby well after the storm?
Yeah. I mean, the baby just sleeps. They don't care about storm or no storm.
As long as there's milk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so good.
So basically I reached out because I run this network, Mycelium-like network, as I call it, called the Green Art Lab Alliance, and it's all art organizations working with all sorts of environmental issues, from like more activism to conservation to, creating new visionaries for sustainable future, like all sorts. It's 50 partners, and actually we have 2 partners in Chile also. It's a Fundación Mar Adentro and Museo del Hongo. And
Museo del Hongo was born with us.
Yes, so I heard. Yeah. So I was like, I need to go to the source.
My chicks. Juanito, he's like mine.
Yeah. So it's been really.
Adentro is a great collaborate. We are very close with Madeline and Maya.
Yeah, exactly. So I was super keen to meet you, because the thing with the network is that we've been growing quite fast. And then my concern was like how we would not dilute what we have just by growing. Yeah. And so that kind of was the starting point to start looking at what I call mycelium as methodology. So like, what can we learn from the mycelium in terms of organizing ourselves, in decentralized ways, but also having creativity as our main currency, and in a way that remains mutually beneficial, etc. So the book is kind of looking at different, also decentralized movements, like we said, activist movements, but then also with mycological lens.
So good.
So good. Yeah, I have a few questions. I don't know how much time we have, so I'm just gonna
go for it.
fire them at you.
Let's do it.
Great. So my first question would be like, what are the lessons from the mycelium? Like, what as a society can we learn?
That you have to collaborate. Then there's no separation from the individual, of the individual from the whole. You just like fungi, not necessarily only mycelium making fungi, but all fungi. You depend on your substrate. So your individual doesn't exist. You can never live by yourself. You always live with or in others.
Yeah. And in terms of organizing, like, or decision-making processes, is there also?
So for a long time, many naturalists and biologists thought that there was the competition, that whoever won a competition was the one that was going to survive and move forward. But really what fungi teach you is that if there's that it's collaboration over competitivity. In the only way to survive and to thrive, because you're not separate from others, is for all of us to survive and thrive, and you do that through cooperation and collaboration.
Then one thing that I heard you say a few times that really resonated is you say language creates reality.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a whole chapter in the book about language and how language is like the prism through which we see the world, but also like how language is entangled with issues of coloniality and, you know, dominant languages such as English actually creating boundaries of our understanding also of the natural world.
Total limitation with English.
So what
we've discovered with the fungi is that so this organization, the Fungi Foundation, was formally born in 2012, but since 1999 I've been working for organisms of kingdom fungi. Already kingdom fungi is a hard language to say, right? So queendom would be as hard, but it's scientifically incorrect. So what I realized in this journey was that the foundation was excluded from any funding opportunity, because in the terms of reference of anything you want to, any fund you want to apply for, it either mentions flora and fauna or plants and animals. And so there were two ways about it. One was to accept that you were formally excluded, and the other was to adhere to the old notion that fungi are plants, even though that they're more related to animals than to plants. And that the latter was a no-go. I mean, it's impossible. That said, there are still organizations like CITES, like the Convention on the International Trade of Endangered Species, that still considers fungi as plants in their regulation. So what was happening there was that the language on the forms and in the terms of reference was automatically excluding fungi. That can be negative. For example, when you're on a quest to get funding, it can also be positive when you're filling in a form for customs and it says, are you bringing any plants or animals into the country? Right? No. You can have a suitcase full of fungi that you're taking for science or you're taking to eat, and they're automatically excluded. But really the notion that wherever it says plants and animals or fauna and flora, it was exclusive to fungi. So that was something that was bugging me personally and our organization for a very long time. And it was only maybe 4 years ago that with a group of colleagues, we came together and we're like, we have to do something about this. Like, let's research, let's look at etymology, let's see where fauna and flora come from. And that's why in 2018, we published the paper that delimits the term funga as the correct word to refer to the fungal diversity of a given place. And what that's done basically is really, it has proven to fill in a necessity, a language necessity that fulfills the description of most macroscopic life on Earth. And it's proven that by adding that language and adding that word, you can create jobs. We proved it through legislation here in Chile. So we included fungi in national legislation and more jobs are created. There's an ecosystemic view to nature. There's funding for education, for research, for conservation. And ultimately, just by when you change language in a hierarchical system, you change language at the top of the pyramid and it will trickle down into a series of changes that depend on language, written language and spoken language. But our whole society is based on written language and legislation.
Yeah. And in terms of like dominance of the English language, is that also
well, it's interesting because I mean we're a Chilean-born organization with an office in the US, and so we work a lot with both languages. I would say that, and we work with science. So in science, you more or less get over it because we're all still speaking Latin to talk about the organization of life, and so that works. But I would say that the issue of absence of language for fungi is in all languages. It's not restricted to English. In every one of the languages that people speak in Occidental countries, so in the West, there's an absence of mycologically inclusive language in the mainstream.
Yeah. And then, do you know if this is kind of better represented in maybe some indigenous languages?
So indigenous languages, I am in no way an expert, but in many, there are references to shape, but there are also, you know, to a different shape. There are many references to fungi as plants, many. Yeah, and then there are just the vernacular names of species that you eat, so food and medicine, but it's not much better than I know. Yeah. I mean, in English and in Spanish, and you know, in English they do have names that differentiate them. The thing that one from another, but in none of the languages that I am aware of are fungi explicitly differentiated from plants and animals, and that's where we're creating a reality, because you're giving them their own place at the same level as plants and animals. So it's not utilitarian, it's an ecological differentiation of language, function. Yeah.
But besides like the categorization, let's say, because like I came across this really beautiful word, maybe you've heard of it, kopupoe.
Yeah.
And you know, from the Potawatomi kind of citizens, and how actually a word like this, it's not about the categorization, but it's more
sensation.
Kind of about the intrinsic kind of
so there are some references to some fungi that talk about decomposition. But see, this is, once again, we're facing a question that you would not make when referring to animals. If you were to make this question to somebody, if you were to ask this question to a zoologist, you would be breaking down your question either to refer to insects, to mammals, to birds, right? You wouldn't say animals. So it's sort of an unfair question, because fungi, so how can we talk about a whole kingdom where you have the yeast, the lichen, the mold? It's exactly this point. So I remember this morning I was in a meeting, you know, revising a web page, and it was all photos of mushrooms. And I was like, you know, you're presenting a web page on the kingdom of the fungi, but you're only showing photos of mushrooms. And it's like having a web page on Kingdom Animalia and only having birds. It's not representative. So that's why the word mushrooms isn't representative at all. It's just a type of fungus. Like birds are a type of animal.
Do you think that artists can also kind of play a role in
Oh, definitely. Well, I've been working with artists way before the foundation even existed, and the foundation from 2012 onwards has participated in several pieces with artists, and you know, in exhibits in different biennales all over the world. Well, we've been very, very active. There's a piece on the website that shows some of them, and we still are very, very active. So we've worked with video and medial art. We've worked with, you know, painting, all sorts of stuff, sculptures, and artists play a very important role in first, I think, in changing sensations would be one, and I say that because I've had the honor of being in exhibitions around fungi and really feeling that it's the closest I've ever been to a forest, you know, in a city. So that from Embody, I think artists play an important role in maybe presenting fungi close to other beings or objects or sensations and making you think. So triggering a reflection. But what, as I like to mention, and my personal journey with the arts, and from my work as a field mycologist, is this similarity in a state you have to either to be able to find species or to be able to create an artwork. You have to be in a state of receptiveness and a state of openness to an encounter. So if I walk into a forest and I'm predetermined to find one shape or color, I will probably miss many species that are other shapes and colors. And an artist has to be open to for what they first set out to draw, paint, or sculpt to come out different. And in that journey, to be open to an encounter that might be an amazing masterpiece, but it wasn't what you set out to make. So there's a similarity in the state of receptiveness and state of openness to an encounter that is common to the natural sciences and to art. So to finding and creating.
And in terms, just to go one step back when we were talking about language, like the arts in language, they also go kind of quite well together. Do you feel like the arts can then play a role in enriching the language to, you know, allow for that complexity?
Are you talking about any language or written language?
Any language.
And any,
yeah.
So yeah, in any language, I would say yes, absolutely. There's the arts can create language, and in that sense, there's a superpower there. I would say that in the space of coining language, when talking about public policy or science, then the arts maybe can assist in the creation of a language in a way that's different than creating an expression, a way to express that isn't written. Yeah.
Like one of the things that we're doing with the book is also creating a lexicon. So because I'm speaking also to farmers, to artists,
yeah,
to, loads of different people who somehow work well, either in this way or directly with fungi. Just to also get different words from different languages, also indigenous languages, also things that people made up themselves. To also, because a lot of people are just, you know, using also terms such as climate change and sustainability, even though those terms often I find didn't resonate outside of either policy context or also sometimes just outside Western.
Yeah.
Are there any words like that you like to use or that you would like to add to this lexicon?
There are words. You mean words that don't exist formally in a dictionary? Okay.
Yeah, but it can be either way, because it could also be like a reclaiming of a
so a fungarium is an important one. Fungi aren't stored in herbariums. The repositories of fungi aren't herbaria, they're fungaria. So that's one. The other is fruiting body, which is absolutely wrong for the fungi. So sporome is one that I would reclaim frequently. The sporome, so a basidium or ascome, but it's a sporome. Fungi don't make fruiting bodies. They don't make fruits. So that's definitely one that and then the other one that a lot of us here in Chile we use, you know, just fungicity, like the happiness, fungicidad, felicidad, fungicidad. It's like that amazing ecstatic state.
Great. I love that.
State of fungal, you know, awe. And that was born from a festival that we co-founded here, the Fungi Fest. So yeah, from the foundation and Fungi Fest, we use fungicidad. Yeah.
And how would you? So you would
It's like
describe that as like
it's a
excitement,
state.
or?
It's a state of elation and excitement under, when you encounter a fungus.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, we should definitely do that.
So that was born from the Fungi Fest here in Chile, which is, see, the foundation has co-founded many initiatives
Yes.
over our years. And
So I
yeah,
saw.
we like giving artists a platform to express,
Yeah.
fungal love.
Is there any words also that you would like to kind of correct or reclaim? Like I was reading the book in which you have also been interviewed of Doug Burent.
Yeah.
And he wrote, well, it's this anecdote I think that you told about, well, what ongo, the word ongo also kind of means in
Cayampa.
Chile. Cayampa, yeah.
Yeah, so Cayampa is definitely a word but it's exclusive for Chile. So it's a Quechua word. It's a Quechua word that means mushroom in Quechua, but only in Chile do they use the same word for penis.
Yeah.
So it's only in Chile. I think that mushroom cloud for nuclear disasters is wrong. And I definitely think that rot and mold are the new rock and roll. So it's not rock and roll, it's rotten mold. That's where everything starts. The word degeneration, when regeneration is in such a trendy, fashionable thing now, well, there's no regeneration if there isn't any degeneration. So decomposition, rot, and degeneration are really necessary words. We've got to let things rot. Yeah.
But so you mean more like how we associate with this term? Like that it doesn't have this connotation.
Exactly. So it's sort of a reclaiming of the word, right? So in a way, fungi degenerate, but it's to enable regeneration. That doesn't mean that they are degenerate beings.
Yeah, that's true. This word, degenerate, it's very strong negative.
Oh yeah. Feeling. Somebody who's a degenerate is a pedophile. But you can't regenerate if you don't degenerate. Fungi do that. So there is some claiming to do there. In the Museo del Hongo was born from a project that we started here in Chile that was to bring justice to the fungi. That's the phrase from which the Museo del Hongo was born, and it was like justicia para los hongos. And in that search for justice for the fungi came all this reclaiming of connotations, creation of words, asking for language to be used in the correct way. So that's really sort of the genesis. It's like a movement that reclaims justice for the fungi.
Yeah. Is there like a kind of record also of this, or that just happened through projects? Or
oh no, there is a record. So this was the genesis started with a grant from a Chilean foundation called Fundación Armar. And it was with an artist called Camila Marambio. She is a curator, like a really important Chilean artist. She's now doing a postdoc, I think, in Copenhagen on curating as well. She's amazing. And she curated this project to which the founders of the Museo del Hongo were a part. We asked them to make the clothes for exhibitions we were making under that project. So there are records of a talk in Telluride where they're mentioned in the Telluride Mushroom Festival. There's a tape talk in Spanish in 1000 metros cuadrados, which was the whole sort of cathartic expression of our project. But
Yeah.
yeah, I can give Camila's email. And
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
I think it's lacami at like LACAMI, lacami
Yeah.
at gmail.com. She is sort of head of art research and art curation for us at the foundation too.
Yeah. Fantastic.
She's the genesis of all those associations for the Museo del Hongo.
Yeah. Great. Oh, and this is also exciting. Talking of rot and regeneration, I feel like we like one chapter of the book is about kind of conservation versus decay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before I'm gonna put like words in your mouth, there's something like that you could say about this.
That I think it's absolutely a misconception to think that decay or decomposition is an end. Depends on your point of view. For me, it's a beginning. Yeah. For mycologists, it's a beginning.
Yeah.
For some mycologists. So the association of decay and rot and decomposition to the end of life is an error. It's the end of a form, a life form, but it's the beginning of many other life forms.
Yeah. No, and I feel that conception is extremely important also in the times that we are living now, where also a lot of
we have to let things rot. It's really important to let things rot. So we're actually about to launch a short film called like that. That's the name. And it just arguably the end of one life form is just the beginning of another. It's really not, and it's not something that we can stop. And it's the same with the process of ideals and ideas. They have to decompose so that new ideas can arise. It's really important to let ideas rot, just to let them disintegrate and give life to new ideas. So energy is never lost, it's transformed. Fungi do that, and that process of transforming energy is what many call decay and think it's negative. I don't know if you know Daniel Lee, who's a Brazilian artist who's just actually, do you know Daniel Lee?
That stage, man.
Sorry?
I'm thinking of someone
else. So he's now exhibiting in Germany? A whole piece on decay, and he has rotten TV now. We're going to be doing some stuff. Look for him. Let me find his let me see his Instagram.
You said Lee?
Lie.
Lie.
Yeah, Daniel Lie. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's Daniel Lee. You'll find him like that on
Instagram also.
Yeah.
Great.
It's Daniel Lee.
Yeah, I'll look him up.
Yeah.
Great.
He's really, really cool, like at thinking about decay and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in the arts at the moment there is also a lot of speak of grief. And climate grief and eco anxiety, and I feel like the idea of maybe decay and grief are also quite entangled.
Absolutely. It's funny. Wow, it's amazing we're talking about this. I've been doing all just really going round and round on this. I mean, it's for example, in my view, the most glorious moment of an ancient tree is when it falls to the ground and it starts decomposing and it starts going back to the soil. And there are a lot of people who think that the most glorious moment of a tree is when it's standing and when it's serving visibly others. But when it serves invisibly, is equally or even more glorious. And I think that the whole, just the whole thought around the how, I mean, there are a lot of people in new generations can't envision how important something invisible is.
Yeah.
Grief is invisible, and a lot of people don't really understand how important something that's so invisible can be. And there's a misconception that only the visible is important or shareable or others. So yeah, and so the only thing you see about death is decay. And a lot of people associate that to a feeling of negativity or sadness, but there's the whole invisible part, which is very powerful too. Yeah.
No, I made this kind of now 20 points with kind of lessons from the Mycelium, and one of them is also the how actually invisibility and also quietness are kind of undervalued.
Oh yeah. Especially now.
Yeah. But that's also to do with the limitation of our senses, like our kind of bare senses, let's say, and our obsession with the written word, I think.
And I mean, there's a hyper communication. So there's a hyper occupancy of anybody's mind with other people's thoughts. And I think that that's not helping very much.
Yeah.
If you can't get to your own thoughts and calm and quiet, because you're bombarded with it, what everybody else is thinking.
Yeah.
So the forest is important there. Just like
forest as a place
of
tranquility,
calm and quiet, yeah, or being far away from others, and just you can do that through meditation as well, but it's harder, right?
Yeah. Then I also had a question, which is kind of how you would map your interdependencies, like more this idea of how you actually become like.
I can show you how I map the foundation work, or anything foundational, like, or even our relations. I've mapped, for example, our history. So this is 10 years of the foundation. That's how I map.
Oh wow, nice.
I mapped everything.
Great.
Absolutely.
Oh, you're a mapper too.
Yeah. See, this is, what's this one now? Oh, this is the organization now.
Yeah.
As it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is an organogram. There's, the hierarchy doesn't really work. That's how I map everything.
Yeah.
It's all interconnected.
Yeah.
Nothing is separate from the other. Yeah.
So you work fungally, basically.
Oh, 100% all the time. Totally. There's not, and it's been very hard for the first 10 years of the foundation have maybe 2/3 have been trying to get people to understand this. Now it's easier. Something has changed, and there's more the starting point of everything being connected is closer, but before it would take you forever to just get there. It's changing, but we've always worked like this.
So you really notice the difference now?
Yes, I notice a big difference now. I think the film Fantastic Fungi has done a lot. And then Merlin's book helped, anybody who was hooked on that to go further in. But there's definitely something that's changed. I mean, I've been waiting decades to see this moment.
Yeah. How do you think that will unfold? because you're mentioning this kind of trickle down effect, obviously also with your whole campaign, like
Yeah.
how will that seep into kind of the minds and hearts of the people?
The wonderful thing is that one will never know that, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, you know, I mean, I honestly have been working for the fungi for over 22 years. It's been a long road. I started, you know, just having to explain everything. I always hoped that the moment where most people would understand would come, but I never knew how it would come. Now, you know, it came through this amazing documentary and it and these books and it came at the same time of a pandemic.
Yeah.
So, you know, imagine how would, you know, there's no way. So what this will do, my more than my hope of what will come, what I see that is happening is that people realize that they're a part of a bigger thing. They're part of a system, of ecosystem, of a planet. And that's been really positive. And I think what I could maybe hope is for people really to understand where their medicine and food comes from, like very clearly, and where their clothing comes from.
Yeah.
And where and I think that in a best case scenario, people will realize that the solutions are in the past. The nature-based solutions are in technologies that that indigenous and ancestral, you know, peoples have already developed and discovered. And it's not about discovering, it's about going back.
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of funny one, but I do ask like all the people who I speak with if there is a specific type of mushroom that you kind of identify with.
Everyone that's in front of me at a given moment.
Yeah?
Anyone, yeah. All of them, from yeast to mold to lichen to mushroom. Yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
Every single one. Yeah.
That's very generous.
I like them all. I feel plenitude with all of them.
Yeah. Great. Then I find, if you have like any recommendations or suggestions on how the art world could help kind of push with the campaign and how the art world can be like more of a micro ambassador.
You know, in my experience, the high profile art pieces around fungi have translated into more. So I mean, the top-down approach in art is not separate from anything else, you know. So that's one thing. Here in Chile, what I lived was that when curatorships and themes of biennales are around fungi, what comes out is extraordinary.
Yeah.
Like when there's an explicit and deliberate placing of fungi, either from Decay or cooperation, in the curatorial setup, it's very helpful. And you know, it's funny because if you look at and I've done the exercise now. I've been, excuse me, sorry, I just dropped something. I've been taken to, like, my whole life I was taken to numerous exhibitions. Like my mom was like, is really into galleries. I remember at one point in my life, it was horrible. I would just sit outside reading a book, you know, she would just, you know, analyze every painting in detail for hours, and it was her thing. And then a bit older, I started doing it, looking for mushrooms in art, in paintings and in sculptures and different things. And I even went to foray at the MoMA with Gary Linkoff, many years ago. We went with our hand lenses. And one thing you see is that there are very few pieces of traditional painters, like, or contemporary art pieces that include fungi. And that says a lot of how they've been associated to something negative. But it's very rare to find, even in a still life of vegetables. I mean, I remember my glory at seeing Archimboldo, using one or two in some of his pieces. But so I think that maybe some sort of redemption there would be really, really cool, in the sense of more deliberate incorporation. And I think that the arts also have a responsibility to that, because from one of the important functions of the arts is capturing what's not always visible, and of making you feel what's not always there to be sensed. And there aren't many things as ephemeris as mushrooms or as some of these structures. So I think that there is a missing responsibility there. I mean, there's a responsibility from the arts to do justice to the fungi through making their shapes and forms, and making their smells, and making their sensations durable. Yeah.
Beautiful. There's like, I love the way you speak, because it's like every sentence is a quote.
No.
Amazing. Yeah. No, that's amazing. I mean, I think I have a lot of fantastic things.
Good.
Yeah. What I'll do is I will actually make a transcript also of the conversation, and I can send it to you just to see if I, got things right. And
no, if it's a transcript, it'll be right. I don't claim anything I said.
Great. And then I'll use like the interview won't be just like published as the interview, but I'll just like use lots of bits and pieces throughout all the different chapters about language, about decay, about conservation.
Wonderful.
And because every chapter is a question that is like collaboratively answered through all these different conversations.
Wow, that's wonderful. Congratulations on the project.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. So,
yay. So cool.
And then by the time it comes out, I'll make sure also it gets to you.
Yeah, I'd love to. I really like this. This is the arts and fungi have been a central part of my career. I think a lot about these things, and it's sort of been underground. So we've been working with artists, like really important artists, and it's always sort of low key. And I'm currently working on a piece, on a big piece as well, with a very well-known artist. And it's just like, but we always do it as part of the process, and trying to get out the thinking and get out the not for the foundation to be center stage, but for the fungal sensation to come out through every piece. Fungal sensation.
And that's also what I think fungi and the arts have in common, that both are processes, not things.
Yep. Yeah.
And so they go quite well together.
Well, think about the first inks,
Yes, actually.
First inks were made from there. The first, even to make paper, you need to use fungi that eat the lignin to leave the cellulose. So you don't use the lignin to make the paper, you only use the cellulose when you make the pulp. So the traditional first ways was really making paper from the cellulose that was remaining after the lignicinous, the lignin eating fungi who had done their job. Even with the inks, and still there are rhizomorphs of fungi that are used for weaving, you know, in Amazon cultures, and there's so many arts, so many to dye wool, you know, the lichens and mushrooms and
actually that's maybe also nice to mention, because that's another project that I'm working on. I'm gonna also send it to you in the link. It's called the Future Materials Bank, and it's an online open source platform for artists and designers to learn more about, you know, any kind of non-toxic, biodegradable, otherwise kind of sustainable materials for artists, like alternatives. There's a lot of mycelium in there, obviously, also.
Of course.
Natural pigments and dyes, but it's open source, so anyone can really upload their work. So if you come across anything working,
that would be amazing.
With, types of materials, please let them know that they can upload their work.
Did you oh yeah, the folks here in southern Chile with the kombucha?
Labva. Yeah, you mean Labva, no?
Or, Labva.
Yeah, we have their work on there.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I'll take a deep look. I love and with a lot of mycelium made materials.
Yeah.
Really striving for that open sourceness.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with this platform is that it's only materials that are not patented.
Yeah.
So there's no commercial incentive, and people need to be willing to share recipes.
I love it.
So I mean, people like what they call like Milo, the leather and stuff.
They
it's
can't.
not really,
Milo
no,
can't.
it's not. No, it's not.
A coveted,
Exactly,
they put a coveted license.
So
but Dennis, Dennis, I mean Benjamin. No, what's his name? Yeah, Benjamin. It's not Dennis. Is it Dennis? Yeah, Dennis Benjamin probably, because he helped kick off some of those technologies too.
Okay.
He's very pro open source.
Yeah.
With Fernan Federici works a lot with him from. This is the Fab Lab, Bio Fab Lab, here in Chile. Yeah.
Yeah, the idea, I mean, we only started like less than a year ago. And
amazing.
So it needs to grow, and not only like new materials, but also saying more traditional ways of
the banana peel, that's really cool.
Yeah. Now there's lots of fun things.
I love it.
Yeah. Great.
Okay,
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you for your time. I know you're very busy, and you're a great inspiration for me. So.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm just working hard here for fungi to be acknowledged all day, all the time.
Yeah, it's very important work, and I think a lot of people see it, and it's working.
Hopefully.
So
definitely
for me.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
Anything you need, just write.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye bye. Ciao.
Ciao.